What's up, everybody? I know it's been a couple of weeks, and we apologize, but life happens, and
Yeah.
if you haven't followed us, Chris' dad passed away, so we had to take some time off for that. And then, actually, that week was horrible because Litharo was supposed to be a guest, and they actually had to take off for some reasons. I don't know what was going on there. And then that happened to you, and then I wound up in the hospital all that same week. It's just like
it was.
It wasn't a great week for
Metalheads
Unite, that's for sure.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a great week at all. And we've got our guest in the backstage area, so I'll make this quick, just in case everybody gets my little tribute that I made to my father here in the opening. But he passed away 10 days ago, 66 years old, 19 days away from his 67th birthday. His birthday is on the 30th. It's actually a day before mine. We were born 20. I was 20 years and one day. So I was his birthday present back in 1978. But yeah, so totally out of nowhere, had one of those widowmaker heart attacks that nobody saw coming. But yeah, so that was a rough time. Super hard on all of us, especially my mother, as you can imagine. But we're working on moving forward. While we're talking about it, I will be out of town on the 5th, which is a Saturday, so we won't be having a show that day. I'll be out of town with family and all that stuff. But we've got more shows scheduled. We had one of our guests on the 5th. We pushed that back to the 12th, so we've already got that rescheduled, which is good. So we are moving forward. I wanted to put that little tribute out there to my dad. So we're back. We'll work on it. We're going to work on moving on together. Jason, I'm glad you're feeling better after your little trip to the hospital. So we're moving forward.
Definitely a scare after what happened your dad the following day. That had kind of happened,
right? Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit! So it's kind of
Yeah. So definitely put a little bit of a damper on my father's day. Needless to say. So
yeah. And just to say, we said this a lot on here, but man, God, check out your health, man. I mean,
absolutely.
Even I know they say once a month, once a year or whatever, but if you can afford a doctor's visit, just go, go every quarter, every 6 months, whatever. I go every 6 months anyway. I've always done that.
I'm gonna start. Yeah. I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna start with that 6 month thing. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, go make sure you get yourself checked out, man. We don't never know what's going on inside our bodies sometimes until it's too late. So
yeah. That's exactly what happened to my dad. I mean, we were texting in a group text the previous afternoon. He went to bed and never woke up.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll try to revive the show here with a little bit. Yep. But we got guests in the back all the way from Rockford, Illinois.
That's right. Domestic.
Patchwork.
Keeping it in the country this time.
That's right. Hey, guys. How's it going?
How's it going? Good. Very sorry about your dad, Chris.
Yeah, sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And then your Aunt Amy's in the chat. Hello, Aunt Amy. So
hello out there in Hawaii. It's 5 a.m. in Hawaii. What the hell are you doing awake?
Right on a Saturday.
We didn't go to
sleep. Oh man. So I'm not familiar with you guys. So if you want to picture wise, not real good. So who we got today?
Yeah. So I'm Dave Caruana. I play drums for Patchwork.
I'm Brad Carlson, guitar.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Both the primary songwriters.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's even better. So it gives a first-hand outlook on the band. So
absolutely. And Dave, I have that shirt that you're wearing.
Yeah.
The official live paint. I have that shirt.
That's one of my favorites. It's pretty low key, but it tells a story, right?
Yeah, I got it back in '96 during the Great Southern Trendkill tour. I've had it that long.
I played the shit out of that album. It's such a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Your aunt's in Michigan, so.
Oh, that's right. She came.
Yeah.
Yeah, she came to the mainland. I forgot about that. That makes more sense. It's actually 11. It's actually 11 o'clock up there. Okay, that makes more sense.
Your aunt lives in Hawaii?
My aunt lives in Hawaii. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's been a teacher out there for 30, 35 some odd years.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
She's been out there quite a while, but originally from Michigan, like the rest of my family. But yeah, she moved out to Hawaii a long time ago.
Huh.
But yeah, she's back on the mainland. So, yeah.
So where are you guys at now?
So
about 45 minutes south of Nashville in a town called Columbia.
My in-laws are actually staying at our house, and they're from Sparta down there.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Sparta. So.
know where that's at.
Yeah, I know where Sparta is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are Sparta. No, I was
Yeah,
kidding.
that's
Not
a
that
completely different Sparta. But yeah.
They don't do that down there.
Yeah, well, they say it with a bit of a twang down here. So.
Yeah, they do.
I think we got Tennessee's weather. We got 105 heat index all weekend up here now.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
that's what I heard. Yeah. Gross.
This is not my favorite. Not my favorite time of the year for sure.
No.
So.
No, I can't stand summer. Ugh.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I hate it.
Yeah.
And I don't see how people are like, the older I get too, I don't see how people are beach people. Like, you always hear like, oh, these 70, 80-year-old people just moved to Florida. I'm like, why? Like,
Be water down there.
hell no. I guess because you're, a lot of people get, they talk about how a lot of people get colder body wise, I guess, when they get older. So I guess they move to a warmer climate or something.
Yeah, I
don't
guess
know,
it's
but
better, easier on the joints. I guess.
I don't know. I can bundle up. I don't care.
That's the way
I'm not moving to 100-degree weather.
That's the way I look at it. I just put on more clothes.
Yeah,
Just
you
move
can
around a
control
little
body
bit more.
temperature when it's cold out, but when it's hot,
Yeah,
it's hot.
you only take off so many layers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can only take off so much without getting a law called on you. So I mean,
Right.
Yeah, it's 100% true. God damn, it's 100% true.
So yeah, cool. So I guess the big thing that I guess question, you may get this a lot. I don't know, but the difference in the albums, of course, the years in between. What was kind of some delays that got you guys to wait like 10 years to do this new one?
Oh, all right. So 10 years between them, we had some lineup changes. We had, if you've read any of the lyrics to the albums, to either of them, you kind of know that they're about tragedy and dealing with tragedy and the different things that go on in our lives and how it affects us. And that's kind of been the evolution. So the first album, Exit Wounds, was about what happens when tragedy occurs in our lives. And this one is more about when those exit wounds heal, how does it affect us? And the 10 years in between, a lot of that kind of thing happened. So the subject matter kind of grew organically that way. We went through several lineup changes. There was three of us at the core at one point. Mark Sheets, our brother, other guitar player, who was our lead guitarist for a while. He passed away of colon cancer a couple of years ago.
Oh man, I hate to hear that.
Thank you. But that type of thing, it's been brutal. There's been divorces and breakups and just all kinds of different things that have gotten in the way of getting this out. So it's been a really slow process. The album itself, I mean, we started writing riffs again about a year or so after we released Exit Wounds, but it really didn't start picking up speed until we went through a couple of lineup changes, and then just Brad and I just kind of decided at that point, we're just going to kind of take the reins on it and just move forward from that point. Mark lived about 2 hours away, and we basically wrote about a third of the first album.
Okay.
But for this one, he lived pretty far away, and he'd been fighting cancer. Fought so freaking hard. I've never seen him that hard. He kids and a loving family, and wanted to really stay with them, of course. And but all that said, it was tough for him to make it here to be part of the writing process in Rockford. So Brad and I ended up writing the album. Now I think that was something else that made it take so long, was we were only able to meet once a week. We had kind of lives, we're talking about it backstage. You can't make money in music these days, right? So, so you have to have something else.
Yep.
So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we had contemplated not even writing it, because we had given, before Mark even got diagnosed, he had got divorced, and then he was like, fuck it, I can focus. I'll come down 3 times a week, and we'll get this next album going. Then he met who ended up being, his soulmate, Heather, and then so she lived a little bit further away. Well, then they got pregnant, so then him coming down just became more secondary. And so we were kind of on hold. We'd like, let's get together this Friday. Something would come up. We'd stop. And then Mark got sick, got diagnosed. And then we kind of contemplated, well, are we going to not hold our breath for the cancer, but between him having a young son and, not wanting to come down before we even knew the severity of the cancer, do we keep going? What's up with Patchwork? Is it done or what? And then every time we got together, we just kept coming up with more ideas, and we said, fuck it, we're just going to, just be he and I. He's a drummer, but he's a full musician like I am. He's a bass player,
Right.
like guitar, write riffs as well. He wrote all the lyrics for the most part for the album, besides a handful of songs. So he's a great arranger and structurer, so he kind of helped me with just my riff, what do we call it, a riff sandwich that I come up with, and he would put it together and kind of in his head, like, I hear this here, I hear this there, but we just kind of decided, let's just do it, have this be all we can do. And in between that time, Mark obviously passed away, so then it ended up being, we're 100% gotta get the whole thing done and dedicated to him. So
yeah. So I guess did the first album who was the vocalist on the first? Was it Chris on the first album, or was it?
No.
Okay.
Chris. When we first started, I first kind of put the band together. We're all kind of childhood friends in previous bands when we were younger.
Yeah.
And then we just decided nobody around where we're from was doing, all the bands were doing like the new metal stuff, and we were old school, like stepping out of a time machine.
Yeah.
Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Anthrax, Megadeth, Overkill, Sacred Reich, all that shit. That's still what we played with our guitars, because we were, I still went to concerts and saw concerts, but that was just still what we grew up on. And nobody around here was doing, when they did covers, it was all like Limp Bizkit and Korn and whatever. That's fine. But I kind of said, you know what? Nobody's playing like actual old school thrash metal covers. And we decided, and we did it right. The same, the same tuning, like down picking when you're supposed to down pick, the same sound. So we kind of took off as a cover band when we had Chris. And then he was more just kind of a screamer. And then I started writing some original music, and Dave as well. It just wasn't really working with him, so he stepped out. And then that's when we got Dan Fernandez, an original band that played a cover here and there rather than a cover band that played an original here and there. So we switched over and we got signed to the indie label there, Turkey Vulture Records at the time. So that was Dan Fernandez.
Gotcha. Okay. And then when did Heath kind of come along?
Really, really recently.
Yeah,
yeah, Heath got thrown into the fire. So when we first started, when we first started 15 years ago, so Brad knew Heath from before that. They worked together in construction, and Heath's been in the Rockford music scene forever, maybe almost a quarter century at this point.
Oh, wow.
He's been was it Power Drive?
Yeah,
Power Ride. Sorry, Heath, if you're watching. They were pretty big around here. And then when we started in 2010, we shared the stage with them in By Tomorrow's End, when he was in By Tomorrow's End. And they were a little more groove oriented, but just had such an amazing, versatile voice. And I've been digging on it for so long. And we've been friends, kind of this whole time. We see each other in the scene, different places around here, keeping in touch, that type of thing. He came to Mark's funeral. And when we got close to the end, it's just to kind of give you an idea. We started recording drums. So probably going into another question here, but
Yeah, that's fine. That's no problem.
if you don't mind. Yeah. So the way that we recorded the album, we basically had 3 different studios. My studio here at the Junkyard is kind of where we tested riffs, where I tested riffs, threw down scratch tracks, things like that. And then Brad has the Scar studio, which is where we recorded all of the guitar tracks, the rhythm guitar tracks for the album. From there, we brought it all to TVR studios and then recorded drums, bass, and vocals there. And just to kind of give you an idea, for a year, all of 2021, I think, we spent recording the guitars. And then 2022 is when we first stepped into TVR, and January started recording the drums. I actually had an issue with the Widowmaker myself.
Wow.
In February, I was able to catch it. It was 90% blocked. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
And they put a stent in, and I've been feeling 100% since then. But that took us out of the studio for a couple of months as well.
Right.
So it was a long process just getting the drums done. The drums took all of 2022. I'm going maybe once a week at some point as I'm recovering.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why it's taken so long. But we didn't get to vocals until the vocals were the last thing we did. So it must have been, I think, May or June of last year when we were finally able to get in the studio. And by that time, Dan was burned out. Dan basically said, consider me retired. I don't want anything to do with anything musical at this point. And he had been playing in cover bands, in the Rockford scene for a long time. And he was primarily a cover musician. He was a stage guy.
He's a hard rock guy.
And also he's a hard rock guy.
He wasn't interested in the genre anymore, he said.
Yeah. He had nothing, really didn't want anything to do with thrash anymore at that point. He really stepped out of his personal box to do what we did, which, and we love the uniqueness of his voice on the first album. That's one of the things. We were trying to keep continuity, but also just he's got a really unique voice. But when he said that, the first person my mind went to was Heath. And we were very fortunate that he agreed to do it. He was happy to do it. And basically, I had, out of the 13 songs, 11 of them had lyrics. And we wanted to make it a big album because it had been so long since we put anything out. And of those songs, I think 9 of them I had written the lyrics to, and Brad wrote lyrics to one, and Mark wrote lyrics to one. That was his primary contribution to the album. We, when I gave him to Heath, he's listening to the tracks, and they're mostly, they're all mixed at this point, mostly mixed and mastered, not mastered, but they're mostly mixed at this point. So he's trying to put stuff together, and then I get in there in the studio with him and I produce him. He's like, that's not what I would have done at all. So it was really kind of, because he's a musician as well, writes his own music, things like that. So he had his own ideas of what it was going in, but he was so incredibly easy to produce. He was just really, really coachable. Had great ideas of his own that he put in there, and he just hit almost everything first take. It was, maybe something here or there, and where there were changes, it wasn't because of a mess up. But when there were changes, it was because, no, I want to hear this done a little bit differently. But he really got thrown into the fire with that, because none of these songs were ever played live, and none of these songs were even really rehearsed outside of me and Brad.
Keep in mind, not to pat him on the back too much, but take credit well. Okay, he doesn't take compliments well, so compliment him as much as you can, but keep this in mind. We wrote a lot of these songs in my basement in the jam room, right? Like 2 of them maybe, like with drums and all that stuff, him and I jamming. And then after that, I hadn't heard any of these songs with any vocals. I saw the lyrics. We never rehearsed these songs to where I'm hearing vocals. These are just riffs structured by him and I together, drums, all these things. So literally, he's going in the studio with Heath. I haven't even fucking heard any of the songs with words yet or vocals.
Wow.
And then he's sending me at the end of the day, okay, here's what Heath did with Ruined. Here's what Heath did with Relic. And I was like, oh my God. And it's all that shit he heard in his head. He wrote all these things in his head, told Heath what to do in the studio. Heath did it, and we have the record.
Well, I think you have to have a plan. You also have a plan and not just go in and say, well, fuck it, do what you think and let's see what happens. So yeah, I mean, as we're writing the songs, I'm coming up with vocal patterns in my head because I kind of felt like that was something that we missed with the first album. There was a lot of areas where we could have done a better job planning out vocal patterns and fitting things into Dan's register a little bit better, things like that. Just kind of the the general songwriting process. Where thrash metal is, as you guys probably know, it's almost always riff based, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
That's where you start. You start with the riff, and
yeah.
Brad's a riff machine. So I'd go over to his house. He's like, I wrote these 10 riffs. Well, fucking hell, let's start, and let's break them down and see where we're going from there. But as we're writing, I'm like Brad's saying, we're hearing, okay, that's an intro riff. That's definitely that's one you could put lyrics over. That's probably a verse riff. This sounds like a chorus riff. Play solo, over the top of this one. Things like that. So as you're doing that, you're arranging it. You can kind of get an idea for where you put vocals. So then you start thinking, okay, with the vocalist I got, where do we want to put those lyrics, and how high can we go, how low can we go? Bands these days, if you've listened to the album, we've got 2 songs that were in drop C, one of them's in drop D, and the rest of them are E standard tuning, in terms of how we tune the guitars. So a lot of bands these days, they drop tune their guitars, get a heavier sound, things like that. They also do a lot of screaming. They don't do a lot of singing necessarily, but the ones that do, a lot of times they're drop tuned to make it easier for the singer. It kind of drops the register a little bit. It gives them a lot more range within that register. So E standard tuning can be a little bit tough with metal these days. So that's one other thing I was really grateful for Heath about, is he's just got an enormous register.
Yeah.
So we were able to do some things with Heath in the studio that were, I wasn't sure how we were going to necessarily accomplish with Dan. Dan's got a really unique voice, but his register is a little bit smaller than Heath's. So, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of the process.
Well, I'd say having listened to the 2 albums, I would say that Heath has probably a lot more power in his voice. That's kind of one of the things that I noticed. He's got a super, I mean, one of the things I noticed is like, and you're talking about his range within the register, to me, it seemed a little more compact, but more powerful, and it had more force behind it. That's just kind of the way I listen to it. Because, let's see, I made a fucking note here. Hang on a second. Because on track number 7, there was he almost went guttural at some point.
Oh, that divide?
Yeah, that one's different.
That's actually Dallas Toller Wade from Nile. He's a death metal.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah,
okay.
he's a friend of mine. He was my guitar teacher, so he did us a song.
Oh, wow, okay.
I wrote those riffs.
Yeah.
It's like our death metal song, and
right.
Heath may have been able to do something with it, but at the time we tried with Dan first, the scratch tracks and just the pattern and all this stuff, and I was like, this just isn't grabbing it. And I became good friends with Dallas, and did some online guitar lessons with him, and he taught me how to shred, like lead guitar. And then I just asked him, in conversation, like, oh man, we're just struggling with this one, and I'd send him the songs. He's like, oh yeah, it's heavy as fuck, I go, man, you wouldn't want to do vocals on it, would you? And he goes, hell yeah, man. And he said, send it to me. And again, he had the architect print out of this vocals here, this chorus. Well, and we sent it to Dallas, and he sent it back, and it was just like bam. So yeah, that's the one that Heath is not doing vocals on. So that's Wade, who was in Nile for 10, 15 years, and then now he's in Sonic Wasteland. So yeah, he's a friend of mine. He did guest vocals and plays solos in the instrumental Bitter Truth in there.
Yeah, it's one of the
other. Okay, all right. The information that I was the source that we have. He's not credited as doing any vocals on that track.
Really? Oh wow.
Guitars.
Yeah.
So, I may have to get that fixed because well, that's the funny thing because I have all of the. And we'll get to this in a minute. We'll find out because you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You had 6 guests on the new album. So I mean, I wanted to kind of like find out how all of the collaborations came about because I mean you got some because I mean you guys have got some hellified guests on. I mean you got Overkill and Nile and Heathen and Flotsam and Jetsam. I mean you guys have got some really fucking I mean just some heavy hitters for some fantastic bands on this album. And I mean it all I mean the cohesion of the album and like I say I've listened to both albums. I mean I listened to both of them. I work at General Motors and I work third shift. So the cool thing is while I'm on the line I got my little headphones on and everything and
That's awesome.
For like the past 4 nights I would set up a queue on my phone on Spotify. I would listen to the first album, I would back it up with the new album, and I would go back and forth.
Oh, nice.
And for like I'm not like no bullshit. For the past 3 nights for sure, I would listen to Exit Wounds, then Scars, then Exit Wounds, then Scars. And this morning when I got home, I listened to them both last night. And when I got home today, I made sure I went back through Scars and made a bunch of notes. I didn't quite have time to sit down and go track by track on Exit Wounds and anything, but I wanted to make sure that I definitely listened to the new album, listened to it, made some notes, and a little more in depth we could discuss. But I will say one thing: we had one of our theme of the week playlists a few weeks ago, and Exit Wounds was on it. So the title track. So
Nice.
Exit Wounds was on it. Because as soon as I heard it, I was like, "That's going in there." So that sucker was on there. But yeah, the difference between the two albums, for me, obviously I can't speak for Jason, but for me, having listened to it multiple times at this point, talking about cohesion and knowing what I know now based on what I listened to and what you guys are talking about having, the riff machine and having, the architect and the construction and everything planned and laid out, everything, all of that, knowing that now, hearing that from you guys makes complete sense to me in the cohesion of the album. Cause I mean, just like my notes, I mean, riffage, more riffage, double bass, solo, bass solo, melodic solo. I mean, everything. I mean, I can't, and I'd have to go back and look because I can't think of one right off the top of my head that has that many riffs bookended, one right after the other. The amount of songs like track 5 Ruined, a minute and a half of nothing but guitar solos and riffs before the vocals kick in. Methuselah, a minute and 25-second opening before the vocals kick. I mean, you guys are just hammering on these riffs even before the vocals kick in. So I mean, so classic thrash. I mean, it's
Justice for All on steroids, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
you kept trying to not simplify, but go, maybe let's just do more riffs. Because Dimebag always said it's not about the technicality; it's about the riff, man.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, well, maybe we do that because Mark used to write. He was a riff machine as well. He was the down picking. I would put his hand up against James Hetfield and Scotty.
It was amazing watching that.
It was crazy the way he could down pick his attack.
Yeah.
And Mark wrote 90% of Exit Wounds, the one you set off our first album.
Yeah.
That's Mark Sheet's special from beginning to end.
Okay. Yeah.
The whole damn thing is down picked.
Yeah. And so, you saying that is great, but I mean that's what we grew up on is that, and Justice for All era and even before, but Justice for All was so many damn changes and all this stuff, and we kept trying to simplify. And it wasn't ego. It was just like, yeah, but then this riff will go after that. And then he'd go home, we'd meet a week later, and he'd come and he'd grab a guitar and start playing something. I go, what the fuck's that? He goes, I don't know. And I go, that riff I did last week. And then he'd go, yeah, I guess we could make that a bridge or a chorus or a pre-chorus. And, this guy over here, Beethoven. So whatever you say. And then when I would record the parts, he would tell me, okay, one more time, or we'll do this 5 times, and then we're going to go into this part. And then he'd tell me to do a change. I go, where'd that change come from? He goes, oh, I came up with it in my head at home last week. So yeah, just play that part. And I'm like, how do you play it? And I play it, and then it'd be in the song.
Well,
so
and part of the trick there is making, again, fucking riff machine over here. The trick is not to play everything 4 times. Otherwise,
it's our inside joke.
Yeah, it's okay.
I go, hey, we should do that 4 times. She's like, no, really?
The same riff 4 times. Doing that once in a while, obviously, it's a great thing because you want to get kind of, especially when you hit on a good riff, it's like, fuck, you just don't want it to stop.
Right.
Yeah, it's what I call kind of a power chord boogie. But it's just a lot of riffs in there. Brad wrote 99% of the music in that song, and that one was just, okay, this has to be here, this has to be here, this has to be here. Just the way everything rolled one into another, we figured, all right, fine, let's just have 1 7-minute song. It's just riffs back to back like that. But Chris, before I quit here, Chris, I would say your vision of the albums is, in my opinion, more important than ours.
Yeah.
What you got out of it, what you're able to get out of it, either musically or in any other way, is more important than anything that we had in terms of writing it.
Yeah.
So that's just our opinion on it.
I mean, that's the good thing about what me and him both do this is we listen to stuff multiple times, and then we're for the first playthrough we're just listening. You know what I mean? We're just a fan listening. And then at some point we're like, okay, now we got to break it down. So then we go back and break it down. Like, okay, what did we like? What did we didn't like? And then we're trying to listen to. I'm more of a lyrical guy, so I'm trying to like listen to what lyrics are reaching out and grabbing me. And then what kind of composition is there also trying to like pulls me in. Like I've heard songs kick off with drums, like, oh shit, something like right off the get, you're hearing something and you're just like, oh, because you weren't expecting it, you know what I mean? Right. So and that's what's good about doing what we're doing, because we're kind of going in blind with a lot of these albums. And I never heard of you guys before I did the review on Scars, but
most haven't.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so when I do, I'm just like, oh shit, it's kind of like one of my first impressions, right out, from the very first track, from the, you have failed or whatever, just the intro. I mean, it's like, I'm like, damn, this is the intro.
I know that.
I was like, what the hell have I got into,
that intro was insane. I mean, it's only a minute 32, but it's like, just, I mean, that's all it took was 92 seconds just to hook you. And then it goes into the title track and just that double bass drum in the intro before the song starts. It's like, Jesus Christ.
And I think Chris was trying to like tell you guys, if you get a check in the mail, it's all it was all him. So
we appreciate you.
Well, and don't quit your day job. It was just Spotify. So, yeah.
No money in metal. I understand.
Yes, it was just
certainly not from Spotify. Yeah,
no. Exactly. Yeah. So,
no, but seriously, we. Our opinion is that you guys are the ones that your opinions of these songs and everyone else's opinions of these songs and how it affects them is just as important, if not more important. Than we wrote them cathartically. We wrote them to get it off of us,
right?
And we kind of hope that has an effect on other people too. Like you said, you like the lyrics to songs mostly to try to try to connect with the lyrics, and that's really where we draw everything out is in the lyrics. Again, Exit Wounds was very personal things that happened to us. Exit Wounds was Mark losing his brother, the song. Lessons in Tragedy was Brad losing his mother. And we all had things that happened to us that came out on that album. And then again, Scars is what happens after that. What are the emotional, physical scars that we're left with that affect how we approach the rest of our lives? In some cases we turn it on the world. In some cases we end up with mental illness, or we end up blaming everybody else. We take it out in ways that we don't even think. So yeah, that's kind of the flow between the two albums lyrically.
And to go back to that, I did see where Dallas was credited on actually two songs on the record, "Bitter Truth" and "Divide" on Spotify. They actually credit him on there. So, so at least
we tried to put in the titles
at
featuring.
least they did something right.
Yeah, we tried to put in the titles, what song title and then featuring whoever the featured artist was. So
yeah,
right.
Well,
So
I mean,
go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, speaking of the featured artists, let's kind of, we already talked about, how you guys know Dallas. So let's start off with Todd, because Todd played, Todd was the guest on the intro. So how do we know Todd? How did he get involved?
This is all I'm going to let him talk, but he's the metal ambassador right here. Not like Jose Mangan, but our own personal metal ambassador. He knows how to talk to people, and he just knows so many people in the industry. It's amazing.
So Todd's a local guy around here. He was amazing. Yep. Kind of nicknamed him the White Jimi Hendrix. He's just a very hybrid player. He's got a reggae band. He's got he had a metal band. He's just naturally talented. And he was in a band around here called Beyond Threshold for many, many years. He lived across the street from me years ago. And Todd actually does the solos in the intro on Exit Wounds album too.
Okay.
In the Shadow
of Death. That's Todd Paluzzi doing that. So, and when this was happening, Mark got sick and all these things. I'm not a whammy bar guy, with my solos and leads, right? So all we kept hearing was like, there's got to be some whammy bar dives in this intro and all this stuff. And Todd's not even active anymore because he's got a young son and all this stuff too. So I reached out to Todd, asked if he would do it, and so that's how Todd came about on the intro. So it's kind of told him we wanted some eerie, dark stuff, coming right out of the gate to open the album.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
definitely coming out swinging. It's kind of funny to hear you like just describe, how you know him, and he's a jack of all trades, because over here, like on his little bio page, it says Todd Paluzzi, everything. That's what it says. It just says everything. So, it's kind of funny.
It's funny you bring that up, Chris, because that kind of goes back to when I was saying, like, I seen Patchwork, on the list, and I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty cool, so we'll check that out. So when I was checking it out, and I started like you doing, I was reading all the people involved, and I think I got to like the, when we were talking about number 3,
track three
with Fallout, and I said, wait a minute, that can't be the same Bobby Gustafson.
Yeah.
I said, well, I guess it can be, because I don't know too many people with that last name. So, and to me, to see that is like pretty amazing, because a lot of times we do talk to bands that aren't well known, and then they got these guys in the band that everybody knows. It's kind of like, wow, it's pretty wild. So how did that relationship come about with Bobby?
Bobby it was when we were still getting together practicing at the house, and I had saw Bobby like posted something about his band Satan's Taint. That was his project that he had down in Florida. Right. So I clicked on it, listened to it. Sounded like overkill a little bit. So I was like, holy shit. So then actually, either when you were there or right before you got there, I just did like a messenger to Bobby Gustin, just not knowing if he would reply or whatever, not being a fanboy, but just, hey man, old school Overkill fan, major influence. Yeah. I didn't even know you're still doing something. This is cool, really cool. And he replied instantly, awesome, appreciate it. And then it just started like a random every month kind of messenger conversation back and forth. We joke about shit. Like I brought up him doing a solo, and he's like, oh, I've tried doing that before for people, and it just never works out, which I think he meant like he just didn't like the music or whatever it was. So then again, fast forward, still conversations with him back and forth about stuff, just about the music scene. Developed a little bit of a relationship with him that way. And then when I told him that, our lead guitar player, Mark, it wasn't going to happen, like we're needing solos done, I asked him again if he would. And we had went up to, me and Mark, the guitar player, went up to Reggie's in Chicago to see Violence when Bobby got in Violence.
Right, yeah.
For that period. So we went and saw them up there. Bobby knew we were up there. He got us in, VIP kind of, not backstage, but got us in. He put us on the list to get in there. which was cool of him. And then he ended up just agreeing as well. He said, "Send me the music." So then sent him the music, and that obviously was going to be his decision if he was going to do it. Clearly, And he came back, "Yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it." So he came back and agreed because he liked the tunes, and did that one, and then did what's Buried Alive as well. He played solo with those. So yeah, he was just amazing. We were lucky, very lucky and proud that he was able to do it.
Oh, yeah, real quick, where this all came about from, when we realized, Mark wasn't going to be able to be as much a part of it as we wanted him to be. Again, he did most of the solos on the first album. Brad knew he was going to have to learn to shred. Brad was a pure rhythm player prior to that, and ended up learning how to become a really fucking good lead guitarist. Quite frankly, did an amazing job, not just on the album but going forward too. But we thought, okay, our name is Patchwork. We've been kind of a patchwork band at this point. Let's blow it out. Let's just embrace the name and what it means entirely. And that's really, this album, I think, probably we are more a patchwork than anything else, because all the guests that we have on it.
Yeah.
Well, don't confuse it like I did when I first tried to look these guys up and wound up in some
banjo and
jazz stuff.
There's a fucking polka band in Europe that's called Patchwork.
Yeah. It was something like a polka, something like.
This can't be the same band.
I tried. I cleaned it up. I was able to clean it up across most of our socials, but not all of them.
There's one of the pictures where it's my uncle's friend sent to me. Or did you send it? It was one, and they're like all like on the album cover, and it says Patchwork, and all these older people holding banjos and shit. Was our album cover. This is perfect. It's like, fuck.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, that's kind of the reason why people ask me all the time. So, why is your Metalheads one word? And I said, well, it's because there's other Metalheads unite out there, but they don't do it that way. It's all separated. So I was just like, how to make it unique is to do something different with the same name. And it's so funny. It's like we're probably there's only like one other one been doing it longer than us, I think, as far as like groups and stuff on Facebook. They don't definitely like there's no podcast like that. But,
not nearly, and that Facebook group is not nearly as active.
No, not nearly
nowhere even close.
Yeah, as we are. So it's we're trying to keep we try to keep everything fresh and going, especially when we got interviews, so we can't talk about the news and stuff as much, which reminds me I didn't put that on there, so I'm horrible. But
the little ticker across the bottom?
So,
it's fine. It's fine.
Which I didn't do that either, so everybody don't even know who we're talking to.
Oh, hey, there it is.
But so 2 weeks out, and I already forgot how to do this thing. But it's just kind of like you got to find some kind of niche to kind of separate yourself, and it's of course when I see the name out there, I can tell like your logo, I can say okay, that's the metal one because you can definitely tell by the logo and stuff. But it was still kind of funny when I first checked it out, and I was like looking you guys up. So why don't we find some info on this band, because I got to do this write up. And I'm like looking up, and I said, well, I know that's not it. So I was like, like I said, you said like 10, 12 people's on the front of this album cover with like all kind of instruments. I'm like, I don't think that's the right one.
I actually need to see this particular album cover. I'll look it up and check it out because it sounds hilarious. It sounds hilarious.
Yeah, they ought to just make a drop and like at one of their shows and have that as their drop.
You probably should.
See, that would be fucking hilarious. Oh my god, that would be great.
Bands in Town. I think Bands in Town has us playing like all these shows in Europe right
fucking
now.
France and shit.
Yeah.
For real? It's not even because it's the other band.
Yeah, it's the other band. It's like,
that's funny.
Playing Belgium tonight. It's
it's like nope, no, not us.
It's gonna be kind of hard to get there in 4 hours, but
no shit. Yeah.
I mean, We do it, but I don't know. The crowd that I think they're drawing is a little different than them.
Oh yeah, probably so.
Yeah,
Uh,
be a lot of pearl clutching for sure.
Yeah.
So where's these?
And then, well, I mean, hell, try getting out of O'Hare on short notice anyway. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we're an hour plus away from there to begin with. So yeah.
Right, yeah.
You can see the people in the audience going, man, where's the xylophone? What's going on? Where's the accordion? What's that doing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna find the picture right here because I have it on my phone.
I should find it and pop it up on there, but it's still because it's one of the first things when you put in that name. It's you have to like. So I had to put Patchwork Metal Band because when I put the band, it popped up the other one. So,
and that's what we had to do with a lot of our socials. Metal.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's what kind of stinks as far as the genre that we're into is like everyone's social media has to. A lot of these bands they have to put in extra stuff, and it sucks. I hate that they have to do that. Like Patchwork Metal and like who the hell did we had an interview, one of our last couple interviews. I mean, they had to do like Power Surge. It may have been Power Surge. It may have been Game Over. I can't remember. But it was like something like official metal or official. I mean, you have to add so much extra stuff just to make sure that people can find you, and it makes it more difficult. And it's unfortunate.
All the regular words are taken. So
now you be able to.
Yeah.
You think you'll be able to see this?
There you go.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go.
That's us.
The funny thing is those skirts that they're wearing also look like they patchworked, sewn them together.
Yeah, absolutely. They live the life for sure.
Yeah, the epitome of fucking patchwork going
That's
on.
the actual album cover that not to go with.
Yeah, biggest concept.
Yeah. It'd be funny. You guys showed up in those outfits with electric guitars and basses and stuff.
That's the thing. Is the funny thing is what you could do is you could actually, because I mean, you guys don't change the font, but change it to that blue color. So,
Right.
I mean,
That's hilarious.
Oh my god! Talk about a brand new inside joke. That would be a brand new inside joke.
Yeah.
Right there.
We should have that as a CD inlay when you open it up. Have that be the band photo.
I just finished the CDs too,
Damn
so
it.
we missed our shot. Damn it!
Well, hell, just do it on the third one. Do it on the third
Yeah,
one.
there you go.
Just put a pin in it for now. Do a gatefold. Just do a gatefold the next time, and
All right.
boom, there you go.
Sell some records that way.
So it's funny. Like everything that we've talked about so far has actually been something that I mentioned in the album review. I actually talked about like hearing some Metallica influence at times, and actually one of the things that I brought up was Brad being a very underrated guitarist. I mean, because like listening to some of the stuff in there, I was like, man, this dude's fucking
that. I honestly, Jason, I think that's the word that sums up the band. Is underrated.
For sure, because
and I will add, having listened to it, like I say, quite a few times, I will add criminally underrated at this point. I absolutely it's ridiculous because I mean the talent that you guys currently have. I mean even the amount of attention you guys gave to the bass player. Talking about And Justice for All on steroids. I mean,
right.
If they would have given Jason half of the attention on And Justice for All that you guys gave to Liza on this album, I mean, they would have been doing something. Because I mean, hold on, I made a couple notes. Because I mean, on the Vulture, on the Vulture, and hold on, and on track 13 at the end, I mean, Liza has got a little bit of a bass solo at the very, very beginning of at the end that gives it like that spooky little haunting little vibe before the double bass kicks in. And let's see what
us.
It's Lisa, by the way, too.
Oh, Lisa.
I was actually going to ask you that because
she's from Puerto Rico, so she
I work-
spells rather than Lisa, she spells it with a Z
Gotcha.
because she's Puerto Rican. So
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you for that.
I work in the medical field, and like it's always like, how do I don't want to mess up nobody's name in there, so I'm just like, how do you pronounce your name? Because it. I was actually thinking that. I said, I wonder if it's Lisa or Liza.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. But yeah, I don't. I mean, hell, with my last name, I got to correct enough people. I don't like to mess. I don't like to mess up people's names if I can help it.
I'm right there with you. My last name gets fucked up all the time.
Yeah. Speaking of that, since we talk about this sometimes, but we've been friends. Me and Chris have been friends for many years, probably 20 plus at this point.
Yeah,
Nice.
But or close to 20. But anyway,
I'd say pushing 20. Yeah,
because it was only about 2 years ago, maybe he told me, he said, it's actually Tarango. I'm like, dude, you let me call you Tarango for 16 fucking years and never thought to correct me. Like,
it doesn't. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. My sister fucking hates it. Of course, she's not a Tarango anymore since she's got married. But she always hated that shit. I gave up on giving a shit a long time ago. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Now some people will see it and they'll say it wrong and they'll be like, "Is that right?" And I'll be like, "Actually, it's Tarango, but it's fine." But so I don't. But if I spent like all day, every day correcting everybody, I just said screw it. I don't
Never get anything else done.
Yeah, so because a lot of people, I'm like, this is probably the only time I'm ever going to see you. So say it wrong, it's whatever. I don't give a shit. But yeah, so it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore. So I could probably count on one hand the amount of people who have got it right on the first try.
So how do people pronounce your last name, Dave?
It's pronounced Caruana. So you get the obvious.
Yeah. Caruana or something. Maybe?
Oh yeah, Karuna, Carvana. Which where the fuck did you get that
from? From a TV commercial?
Yes, yeah. My name's been around for 500 plus years, but yeah, it's just usually Karuna or like it's 7 letters, dude. It's
right.
It's it's like trying to start a motor.
Yeah.
Right. Actually,
a lot of different ways.
That would probably been one of my first 2 guesses would have been Caruana, just because of the way if it's like you're saying that, well, you don't go around saying marijuana,
right?
No, some other people do. I'm fine with it now. It was since 2nd grade. It's marijuana. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Not everyone can be a Jason Tucker or a Brad Carlson. So
exactly,
you gotta have some people in this world with a fucked up last name. So.
Well, if it means anything to you, I just got a thing in here from when I was just at an Irish place and got some more background on my name that I didn't know existed, and it was going back to like the 1600s or something, and it was spelled all kind of funky. I'm just like, I don't know what that is, but it's not Tucker.
Well, it's funny. It's actually funny that we're talking about last names at the moment, because
you got a whole book of last names.
No, I don't have a book of last names, but when my daughter was born, my great grandfather on my dad's side he's got like a genealogy thing.
Oh, cool.
So he traced, let's see how far back this goes. Hang on. He traced the Tarangos all the way back to, hang on just a second here, all the way back to 1727 in Montreal.
Wow.
Really?
Because the Tarango name is actually French Canadian.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah. Well, I know it sounds Italian, and the fucked up thing is like the way it's spelled now is probably half as long as it was when the Tarangos came over from Canada. It used to be Tourangeau, Tourangeau, because it was French.
Okay.
So they shortened it as they did with immigrants when they came over and all that shit way back in the 18th century and all that good stuff, the early 18th century at that. So they shortened it, and all of that, all that flowy French, that tourangeau that flows off the tongue became tourangeau, and people look at it and they assume, hard G, so everybody thinks it's Tarango, which is fine. And like I say, it doesn't bother me. So, but so yeah, things definitely got lost in translation coming over from Canada. But yeah, so I mean that name goes back quite a lot, and I'm sure it goes back even further than the 1700s. That's just the information he could find back to the 1720s. So I mean, that obviously that predates this country by quite a few decades. So so yeah, it's one of those things that,
people have asked me before, like if I'm on the phone or something like that, and I say Carlson, they're like, with a K or a C? I'm like, with a K? I guess.
K.
Yeah.
Well,
there are people with K's.
Well, the funny thing about that is, as you guys can tell, I'm a hockey fan, and there's a lot of hockey players that come over from Sweden, and there's a lot of Carlsons in the NHL that spell it with a K. So yeah, so
there's two S's then usually too, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Carlson, Karlsson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Erickson, Anderson, all sorts of Johansson. Yeah.
Huh.
What's weird about the Swedish, like I know we're getting off on a tangent, but Jason will tell you we do this shit all the time. The funny thing is about the Swedish language is like when it comes to like the spelling of the son, like the Erickson and Johansson and Carlson, and I don't even know if this is actually true or not, but one thing I've noticed with, watching as many hockey games and have seen as many Swedish hockey players I have, is I think the reason why they do the two S's in Sweden is I think it's kind of like, and I don't know if this is different for the females. I don't know. But like Erickson, it's like Eric's son and Carl's son. So I think that might be the significance of the two S's in the Swedish language. And like I say, I don't know if it's like that for the females because I do know.
I thought maybe they all just had a lisp or something. I didn't know.
That could be too.
I had a lisp when I was younger. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Because I do know in the Russian language, like what they do with the Russian language is like a lot of the last names end in an OV, like Fetisov and Kozlov and Fedorov,
right.
And Ovechkin, ends in KIN. But what they'll do for the females, it'll be the same family name, but for the females, they'll add an A at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was wondering about that. It's like they have very female sounding last names too in Russia.
Yeah. So I've seen that done plenty of times. Like, well, it'll be the same family name, but with the female in a family, they'll just add an A at the end. It's weird. Yeah. So yeah, some of those languages have their own kind of. I mean, we got enough stupid rules in our language as it is. I before E, except after C, and all that shit. And then we don't even adhere to.
Yeah.
So,
none of it makes any sense. Yeah.
So yeah.
Your meatballs are better than Dave's meatballs.
No.
Swedish meatballs are better.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Italian meatballs are better.
I actually love somebody does a TikToker of that stuff, and it's like in class, and he's like, "Hey, this word," and it's like, "Oh, that's there." And he said, "What about this word?" "Oh, that's hair." "No, it's actually here."
Oh yeah,
it's actually
I've
here.
Seen those.
It's actually here. And they're like, "What?"
I've seen those.
Food versus yeah. That's funny.
Yeah,
did you say Italian meatballs are better than Swedish meatballs?
I did. Sorry, I had to.
No, man.
We argue about that shit all the time because I'm Italian. He's Swedish.
Swedes are better.
Well, you're okay. You're Italian.
Yeah.
Did you? Jason and I. We had an interview with an Italian band last year. Two of them.
Yeah.
But the first Italian band that we interviewed, was it last year that we interviewed them? Or was it earlier this year?
Never Obey Again. That was last year.
Last year. Okay. Yeah. Well, we got to talking about. I love Italian food. I fucking love Italian food, and we got to talking about it. And they told, and this freaking shook my world when I found out. Come to find out that chicken Alfredo is not an Italian dish.
Nope.
I was like, what the hell are you telling me right now?
Fake. No, Alfredo's fake. It ain't me. I didn't come up with that shit.
Yeah,
you're right.
Alfredo's fake.
Yeah, I had no idea. And when they told me that, I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, what's happening right now?
Because they were talking about the history of it too, where the pasta, it was just pasta and sauce for, there was no meats and stuff in it until somebody just said, oh, they came to America. America was adding meats and they brought it back to Italy. So
you can't afford meat in Italy. Unemployment over there. At one
so here's a question for you guys: is chili okay?
Uh-huh.
Does chili have beans in it? Is chili supposed? I mean, so if you think of chili, does it have beans in it?
I put beans in mine, but
the funny thing is, I will eat it either way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but beans are a filler. I hate beans, but he'll tell you because he was a chili whatever.
I was a chili judge for like 10 years.
But I hate people say you got to have beans in your chili, and I said that to him one time because I hate beans, and he's like, no, because beans are just a filler.
Beans are filler.
So that's
we have opinions on dumb shit. So
I will absolutely eat it either way because I normally when we have it here at the house we don't, because my wife, same thing, she's like, fuck beans, she's like, no, hell no. But like when my mom would make it, she would put beans in it. I will eat it either way, so to me it doesn't matter. I don't care.
I'm the only one at any family gathering, my wife's side, my side, growing up, that I won't eat it if it has beans in it.
You pick them out. A big old pile of beans sitting on the counter.
Yeah, it's fucking good. These beans.
I think it depends.
Barbecues and have baked beans. I can't stand baked beans. They make me want to throw up.
I think it depends on what kind of
I'll eat those
beans they put in it too. So,
Yeah,
because people do put different kinds of beans in theirs. But
yeah, what's the content?
I've always used kidney beans. But
yeah, my mom would use kidney beans too. So.
Starchy, dry. Disgusting.
I'll eat it, but I'm like Chris. I'll eat it.
Now you're kicked out of the band.
No. Hang on.
Oh shit!
Eat it.
Can't have a drummer that eats beans.
I mean, that would definitely be a first if a band broke up on the show.
That would be a hell of an interview for Loudwire, wouldn't it?
He takes me out of the band 3 or 4 times a week.
You can see the article from Loudwire where they go through all this shit they went through, and it was beans that did it.
Yeah, it was chili.
Beans was the final straw.
Hard times, and then he ate fucking beans.
Beans is the final straw. I'm out. That's gonna be the headline.
Funny thing is I actually like beans. I don't know why. I'll eat the hell out of beans. I'll eat a whole bag of they got like those steamed green beans. I'll just eat them.
I can eat green beans. I don't mind that.
I used to, when we lived up in Michigan, we had a garden in the backyard. I would just pull green beans out of the ground and eat them.
That's the best.
My mom used to get beans. I would pull beans out of the green beans out of the ground. I would pull the peas and split the pea pods open. I would eat those, so
that's fine.
I would get yelled at for eating my vegetables. Go fucking figure that.
I'm actually growing some green beans right now, so
nice.
Don't tell me that. I'm gonna come over and eat them.
Well, I mean, they're out there in the above ground. What you call it out there? Garden, above ground garden out there. So
you won't have to put fucking chicken wire out for the rabbits. It'll just be for me. You'll have to put it real high.
Yeah, we started doing a little bit of stuff. I think we got cucumbers and tomatoes and anything that's like, I don't know, man. It's just like the more we eat stuff from the stores, like the more the more horrible we find it to be. It's just like,
yeah, well, that's true.
That's next to me too, Jason. I'm trying to get a garden going as well.
We've tried to do that numerous times, and my wife just. I don't have the patience. My wife's so ADD. Like she'll want to do the work, get it started. She can't even keep a cactus alive. So, unfortunately.
Well, the good thing is at least you guys have soil up there. We don't have that. We don't have that shit down here. We don't have soil down here.
Yeah. We got the whole Toronto family in the chat.
Yep.
Okay, there's her daughter Kayla. So.
Oh yeah.
Good morning.
What's up, Kayla? Well, it's a Saturday and it's 11 o'clock. I'm surprised she's up.
I was gonna say it's a little early for her, isn't it?
A little bit. A little bit. Well, I mean, hell, she's 23, so I mean,
Yeah, there you go. Nobody likes you when you're 23, so.
Right.
Hell, she works just as much. Actually, I work a little more than her, but hey, she works just as much as I do. She works at GM too, so
nice.
Yeah. Hell, everybody in this house, I work for GM, my wife works for GM, my daughter works for GM, my brother works for GM, my dad, is a retiree from GM, so I mean,
Nice.
General Motors family.
I never thought about that. You just brought that up, but it's funny because everybody in this household was working at Amazon at one time.
That's true. That's true.
I didn't think about that. That was crazy.
That's 100% true. Absolutely.
All right, we'll swing back to the
let's
album.
a big swing back
swing.
to
So we were talking. The beans did it, man.
That's what it was.
And ran the conversation out of the room. So
we're on last name.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the instrumentals and stuff on there, and instrumentally the album was phenomenal. I thought, and Chris brought that up a few times as well. But I actually put that in my notes too when I did the album reviews. I thought there was points in the album where I think every instrument was kind of showcased at some point.
Absolutely.
And I was like, a lot of times you don't hear that. It's I always find we've talked about this a lot of times too. Is how you can listen to a lot of stuff and the bass is there, but a lot of times you can't pick it out. You know what I mean? So it's very cool to be able to pick out instruments you don't normally, kind of be like, oh, that's kind of showcased,
Yeah.
So and I think another thing with all this is like from everything that I've said about the album, which not blowing smoke up your asses because you're here, but we do this, all year long and get to the end of the year. And of course, we have to pick out our top 10 albums of the year, but at this point, like your guys, and then there's a guest next week. Those two albums were back-to-back weeks. There's a band coming on next week called Degenerate, and that album came out like the week after you guys. And I was like, man, this is crazy how good these albums are back-to-back. And like you, and both of those are like my two favorite albums so far. I mean,
absolutely.
Like I said, we're talking June, so I mean we got plenty of time. But I'm just saying, like,
contenders
for right now, dude. It's like it just blows my mind of how you got bands like Malevolence that's had an album out, and you got a lot of big bands that have had albums out already. Arch Enemy and things like that. So I mean, it's kind of amazing that you're talking about those kind of bands, and then these two albums are like in the forefront of that conversation. So
that's huge. Thank you.
Yeah. So kudos to you guys. I mean, you did the work, man.
Absolutely. To echo Jason's sentiment, absolute, almost halfway through the year, and absolute contenders at this point.
Yeah, and it's crazy,
it's
like
unreal.
You said, the way you got kind of like he was talking. Oh, the vocals just kind of got through together. I'm like, what? No fucking way! Like, this album cannot be that good. Together. Like,
not thrown together. Not thrown together. Yeah. It lived up here for a long time, but
right.
Getting it out, through Heath the way that he did was. Mm-hmm. He got, like I said, he got put into a shitty situation and just blew it away.
But again, can't take any weight away from. Keep in mind, I never heard these songs, and this I always used to joke when we first started the band, like, "Oh, I'm Brad Carlson, CEO of Patchwork," just because you loud mouth about shit.
Still the CEO,
yeah. But so majority of the riffs and all that stuff. So. He goes in the studio again. I hadn't heard any of these. I knew Heath because I called Heath. Will you do it? He said absolutely. And I didn't not trust Heath, but still, I didn't know any vocal pattern. I didn't know where he's going to be, where his range, whatever. Right. And there was only one or two songs, maybe that there was maybe a word or a way a word was sang in a chorus or something like. Maybe you should try and do that. Otherwise, everything that got sent to me after the studio when it was just him, our producer and engineer, and then Heath, like there was nothing. I was just like, oh, I don't like that. I was just like blown away. Like I was the first time hearing it.
Sure.
I'm a music fan. I was like, dude, that's fucking badass. So I mean, for him to be able to do that, we're on the same page. We grew up the same way with music, and we've played together for so long. But that's the rarity of it, is that you've never heard something before. It's your music, so you're very protective of your music.
Right.
You don't know what it's going to sound like. I thought it was going to be like, oh, I don't like that. We should try this. We should try that. And it was everything right out of the gate almost was just perfect. How I loved it. How I wouldn't have done any different. So that's pretty amazing. It made it painless for sure.
It helps being in the same band for 15 years together and knowing each other for
true.
Jesus, what, 35 years? 35 years at this point. Yeah, we met in high school, so. But it helps to be on the same level, you know.
I think I even mentioned something about even like that the instrumental in the beginning. I think if you're listening and you just from the get go, I think it just grabs you and like you don't even realize it's an instrumental unless you're looking at it and say, oh, it was only a minute and a half. So I mean, I think it's like if you're just listening to it casually and not paying attention to any time frames, you probably don't even realize that that's an instrument. That's an intro. It's like
the funny thing is like the opening to Ruined and Methuselah are
that's what
practically
I'm.
just as long, and they're
Yeah,
actually
that's what I'm saying.
the intro to the particular track. So
Exactly.
You Have Failed. I mean, is kind of the de facto intro to just the intro to the title track because it's in track 2, even though they're listed separately, they're separate entities. But Jason, you and I talk about all the time how that can kind of be a little bit of a pet peeve for us. But like you said, if you're not paying attention, you would have only thought that the album is 12 tracks instead of 13 because of the way the intro is constructed, the way it flows into the title track. It literally doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
It literally doesn't miss a beat.
I think like when we talk about those things, I think it's kind of like one of those things where I'm listening to that, if I'm listening to an intro or whatever, and then it's like a whole different tone from the next track. I think that's kind of where it gets me is just kind of like, okay, what was, maybe I need to talk to these guys because I don't know what the purpose of that was.
Right. That happens.
I guess to me, because like me listening to it as a fan, it feels like a filler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like, oh well, that's just a filler, and I don't.
And for that to happen
honestly,
right off the top, you're just like, what the hell are we doing?
And honestly, if I've got 15 tracks, I'm not going to be bitching too much because I still got 14 songs to listen to. But I'm just saying, it's like sometimes there's like a 9-track album and then there's like an intro. I'm like, okay, what the? I mean. You only got 8 tracks, like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, in both of the albums, it's funny you mentioned that. In both of the albums, the idea was to line the intro up with the very next track and make sure that they had kind of a similar theme. So in Exit Wounds, it was the original name was Life in the Shadow of Death, and they said us too long, so we just went with In the Shadow of Death, and it's that classic thrash nuclear war theme. It's and the end of it is the missiles coming out of the ground, and then that's supposed to cut and then immediately start Lazarus. And in the Bible, Lazarus was the book, was the guy who was raised from the dead. And that was about thrash being raised from the dead. So a lot of metaphors going on there between the two of them.
That's cool. That's cool.
That is neat. I do like that.
Thank you.
That's why I like doing these things. We get to hear stories like that, and it's like,
right, because
it makes perfect sense,
Right, because it's one thing. It's one thing for you to say, like because you told me like what matters to you guys is what I get out of it. And that's cool. That's great because that's one of the things that's awesome about something like this is like there's a point to every song.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had a point.
Mm-hmm.
But the subjective ear is the subjective ear.
Right.
So it is cool that we get out of it what we do, but it's also cool for us on this side to be able to talk to you and be like, what was your mindset? Because we always form our own mindset.
Right.
Sometimes we're in the ballpark, sometimes we aren't. But it's one of those things like they tell you in school. There's no stupid question and there's no wrong answer. Well, then, there can be wrong answers sometimes, but like when it comes to shit like this, I mean, just because you listen to something a certain way doesn't mean, your particular perspective is wrong. So for us to have our perspective and echoing it back to you, for us to get, what you guys were thinking when you wrote the song. Cause I mean, hell, because Brad is like, I don't even know what the lyrics are, and then you hear, and then you heard it's like these are awesome. And then, so
I think too you'll be able to like because I've noticed I've done this a few times over the years. Like I'll listen to like say a Slipknot song or whatever, and you'd be like, oh well, this is what I get out of it, and you probably feel that way for like 10 years, but you wake up one day, turn it on, and you're in a different mood. And you're just like, oh, maybe this means this then, because I think it just depends on your mindset and your mood you're in for that day, or what a song could mean to you as personally, even though the people writing it had a totally different, mindset of writing.
I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying, I don't know. You were talking about how you have all this stuff in your head, and like I don't play instruments, but I do like to write. So sure. I write a lot of lyrics. So when I'm writing, I have a tone in my head when I'm writing. So it's kind of like I know what I want it to sound like if I ever did anything with it. Of course, with AI, I could probably do something with it now if I wanted to. But, I know. But I mean, to me, it's not like for personal reasons. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make money off of it. I just wanted to say, hey, I wonder what this would say, if this would sound like what I envision if I throw it on here.
Yeah.
Oh, go to the music industry. You won't make any money. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm not trying to do anything like that. Like I said, I'm not. We know here that if you're going to make any money, you got to be out in a show somewhere, selling merch and all that good stuff. And that's not something that I have time nor desire to do. So I'll leave that to the professionals. But,
right. But to your point, it's almost. I almost feel like it's a little. I don't want to say dangerous, but maybe it is to be on this side and tell you what we were thinking when we wrote this stuff, just because I don't want it to necessarily influence your personal experience with the album. Like you said, you can listen to a song once and then you listen to it 5 years, 10 years later, you're in a different mindset. You're in a different place in life. It's something completely different to you. I almost wonder, and you guys tell me, but I almost wonder if that taints it. If you hear from the artist, well, this is why I wrote it. This is exactly what I was.
Personally, I don't think so, but I mean, I can see how that. I can see how it could with people. I mean, especially with the mindset of some lunatics out there today. But
well, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's like I always like to hear the stories just to see if I'm right. See if I'm right.
Okay.
I guess more than anything to see. Oh, okay, that's what I got out of it. But
okay,
right.
Well, in that case,
yeah, I feel the same way because I mean, we actually got to listen to the album before it came out, thanks to the folks at the label that we have partnered with. I think this one was Corinne, wasn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it was Corinne.
Yeah, it was with Corinne. Yeah, Corinne sent it to us, so we got to listen to it ahead of time, which is still so awesome that we got the opportunity to do this with some of these albums. Because I mean, in some cases, I mean, some of these albums aren't slated to come out for another 3-4 months, so we get crap.
I don't know if you've seen, but we got one that's that we can download right now, but it's due out in October. So it's
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and that's cool that we've kind of built that relationship with the label, and I think that's awesome.
Right.
Well, and most of our interviews this year have been from that label. I mean, which is crazy.
And the good thing is we're getting more and more content from them because I think at this point, we've kind of proven that they can trust us with it because we don't share it. We listen to it. Yeah. We listen to it, and then if the particular band, like with you guys, we have not shared anything that we weren't supposed to. If this
up until of course the release on the 16th, but
right, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, we get this stuff ahead of time, whether it's a month, whether it's 4 months ahead of time, and hey, we know that this stuff is being sent to us under the guise of, hey, this shit's not released yet. So we don't fuck around with other people's art. So I mean, we're honored to get it. We're honored to listen to it like we did with the album. So being able to listen to it, whether it's a month or 2 or 3 or 4 in advance, we're able to listen to it and we're able to listen to it, enjoy it, like Jason says, analyze it, break it down, make notes on it, whatever we want to do ahead of our particular interview. But we've had time to soak it in and enjoy it. And I don't think either one of us, especially, doing what we're doing, doing a podcast as a fan, we're doing podcast as fans, but we're also doing this, like I say, we're trying to advance metal as a genre the best we can. Yeah. So as a fan and as someone who's trying to spread the word, I don't think, having listened to it as much as we have at this point, finding out, like Jason said, whether we're right, whether we're wrong, how close we were, how far we were, I don't think it'll ever ruin it. I mean, the songs, the album is still fantastic. The songs are still bangers, every single one of them. So I mean, knowing what this is about and what that is about, I don't think it's gonna detract from it.
I think one of the things I said about the album, not to take anything away from wrestling, but I said it was all gas and no brakes because that's kind of what I felt like. It is, though. That's kind of what I felt like.
That was the goal. Thank you.
Yeah. It was just like, it was from the first riff to the last. It was just like a solid, intense, in your face thrash albums. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of like what it was, kind of like what thrash was always meant to be. So
Awesome.
There you go. Yeah, that's 100% it. I mean, you guys took American thrash. See, that's the thing is, I mean, just the traditional American. Nothing against any of our foreign guests or anything, because I mean, there's influences all over the world.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
European thrash is a little bit different, just a
yeah,
little.
it's a little right,
It's
but
great.
I mean,
it's great. It's just a little different.
absolutely it is. Yeah, and we've had plenty of European thrash bands on, and we've enjoyed every single one of them. But just the traditional balls to the wall, no pun intended to accept, but I mean the balls to the wall, fucking full throttle, all in your face and down your throat. The traditional American thrash metal. I mean, it's all alive and well in this album. It absolutely is in all the best ways. Absolutely. And talking about, and speaking of which, talking about Heath's voice, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. Because we do this when we're listening to albums and all that stuff. We talking about the musical influences, but I mean I don't know if you got any particular vocal influence, and with Heath not here. I mean we may not.
Yeah,
I mentioned
I mentioned Metallica at least once, but
well,
there were some vocal points there that was kind of James Hetfieldish too. So
there was, but I mean, hell, I mean,
it was really a lot of different ones in my opinion.
I heard a lot of Joey Belladonna undertones.
Oh yeah, Joey Belladonna, yeah.
So, but still, you're talking about one of the big four of American thrash metal. I mean,
Joey's an amazing vocalist.
He is, yeah.
And he's got that, like you said, he's got that range where dude, I feel like you could put a piano in front of him and he can make it sound great. Just him and a piano and his vocal.
He can play piano too.
He plays piano. He plays acoustic.
There you go.
He's got acoustic. He's got a personal acoustic show that he does.
He's
so with that, if that song's on the next album, but I'm gonna take credit for it. So
right. He's influences vocally from a metal perspective, and this was a couple of years ago, but he loved Howard from when Howard was in Killswitch.
Yeah,
who doesn't, man?
God, he loved
right.
Anselmo, David Dram from Disturbed, and also obviously James Hetfield.
Yeah,
that's who he. Last time I asked him years ago, because the first time I saw his band live many years ago, I was like, "Holy shit, dude, you can sing!" When I worked with him, he sounded like he was doing. They were doing one of the Killswitch songs live. That and a Heartache or something he was doing, and he was hitting the fucking ranges. I was like,
Jesus Christ,
fucking do that, And he's like, yeah, I'm just kind of like a mimic, But that's why he can do all of it, because he's just influenced by so much,
Yeah,
a lot of
and he has such. When you talk to him, like you think I have a deep monotone voice, his voice is lower and more monotone than mine.
Wow, that's crazy. I feel like a lot of guys that can hit those high notes are kind of like that, though. When you hear him in interviews, you're like, wow, that motherfucker can he talks like that and hits a note that like how.
Well, I mean, Howard Jones has one of those deep voices. That's what I'm saying. He does. He's got one of those deep voices.
It's like the fucking nationwide guy, and then he's like coming out hitting down.
Walking around asking everybody if they're in good hands. Are you in good hands? Are you in good hands? Be better protected from mayhem like me.
But getting back to the label, man, let me tell you, I want to give kudos to and we do this a lot on here, and I'll probably never get tired of doing it, man. The label there is fucking awesome, dude. Like y'all got so many good people in there. I know we kind of touch with Curtis and Korean and Olivia, all those people, man. And they're constant. Like I said, if they're doing that to our inbox, I'm sure somebody else is getting flooded too. So I mean, they're doing their job, dude. Y'all's PR people are really on it, dude.
Yeah. That is great. Yeah, we did pick up C-Squared Music for PR specifically for this, and we're really
killing
it. They've done such a great job. It's been busy, since the album came out, since before the album came out. They got us an exclusive on Decibel track by track the night before the
Nice.
album came out.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that was huge. But yeah, they've opened some doors for us that otherwise would not have been there. So we're grateful to C Squared for
Absolutely.
sure. Corey's been absolutely awesome to work with. She helped me with the distribution of it too. Even it was
That's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome that they're willing to just help with everything. Not
we just partnered with them for PR, but she helped me with distribution too. So I kind of started my own record label, Scars of Lazarus Records. I'm not sure who else will sign at this point, but we definitely. But C Squared for all PR and everything, of course.
Yeah, that's actually a badass name for a fucking
Thanks.
record label.
Yeah, it is.
Scars of Lazarus. Holy shit!
We hope people actually still will buy physical copies, like we do, to read the lyrics, look at the artwork.
Exactly.
Track by track, it should be available here probably first or second week in July, CDs.
Okay.
So
yeah, we're a little late with those.
Yeah. So speaking of which, we're going to throw this up here. We always like to talk about album covers. So I know that's my little review on the side there, but I got to remove the Mary always gets in the way. So get this
yeah.
Can I get up here, please? What's going on here?
Yeah. So how did you?
Oh, there we go.
Was it
through Ronnie?
Yeah. So who's responsible for the artwork and everything?
It's Jorge Bamindi. He's Sick Graphic Productions. I think he was where are they out of Chile?
Chile, yeah.
Yeah,
Chile.
he Ronnie Palmer, who actually he's an amazing drummer in Malevolent Creation now and Perdition Temple, and then he's got his own project, Blood Messiah, that he does everything in. He's a shredder as well. He's a friend of mine that lives in Florida, and he referred me to Jorge because Jorge had done Ronnie's. He said that's basically you're trying to move on from your past, but you can't really ever get away from those exit wounds, and that's the skull he's holding that's still attached to him by all the tissue in the back. And then if you look at the center of the album, you see that little dot that technically is basically the cancer.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. And then he actually changed our font a little for us too, because on the first album we just had kind of a generic font for our logo, and we just wanted it cleaned up a little bit. So
I was going to ask about that too, because I do like the font on it too. So.
Yeah. So he came up with that, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost it's almost one of those where you could easily death metal it up if you needed to.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
because I see a lot of bands doing that now. I went to a Trivium and Bullet for my Valentine show, and they both had theirs like that. And of course, we know neither one of them played anything close to death metal, but it's still kind of funny to see their logo being able to be transformed into that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we wanted it. We didn't want it to go quite to that level, to the death metal level. Just we still want it to be mostly legible.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
You can't read any of the death metal names when they have a flyer. It's like, what the hell?
Who is this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is like normally,
ranch band,
Yeah. The funny thing is normally when we talk to a band and we talk about the font, the album fonts and the artwork and everything, a lot of times, and especially with thrash metal, because you got Anthrax and Slayer and the Metallica logo right there on your shirt. Everything is symmetrical and everything. But the funny thing is considering the band name that you have, I don't think a symmetrical font would work. I don't think it would do it justice, because it would be the complete opposite of what you're trying to get across.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So yeah, it still flows from left to right like it's supposed to as you read it, but the way it's asymmetrical, some of the letters are tucked up underneath and kind of nothing's intertwined, but like the C tucked up underneath the T right there. So it works the way it's supposed to with the name of the band, and I fucking love that.
Thank you. Well, the concept of the band from the very beginning was that we are all kind of a patchwork of scars.
Absolutely.
Every one of us is a product of our experiences, and we learn and grow from those, right? So that's kind of where that all came from. The whole idea of patchwork came from.
Yeah.
Brad tells it better than I do, but
that was good.
He said no. It was
acceptable.
Right.
You're back.
You're back in the band. You're back in the band.
I go up and down with my emotions. I'll probably fire him.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So I guess like my main thing is, you guys got any shows lined up or anything for support of the album? Or
At this point, we've been offered a couple. They just haven't worked out. Just life shit, like one's my birthday weekend that I already had plans. I'm not even going to be in town. That we got offered a really big show around here that we can't do, and everybody's kind of asking and wanting to know and all that stuff. It's kind of like the law of supply and demand. We'll definitely make it happen. We have the people that can do it for sure between Heath and Lisa.
And they're live.
We would just have to
live performers.
Get in a room and start jamming them out again and get them tight, because we're perfectionists, and there's a lot of changes, and with the speed and the just being able to play. Even me, I'll play along with the CD now, and trying to get through two of my own songs riffs that I wrote. My forearms got tired. It's like, oh damn, how do we used to play shows all the time? And
getting old sucks, man.
Well, it's just because most of the time when I'm playing guitar now, I'm doing solos and leads and running scales and modes. I'm not alternate picking or down picking rhythms, Yeah. So it would just be having to practice that and get it tight enough to where we're comfortable. I mean, we definitely would love to do it. I think it just has to make sense,
Yeah, and I think what the other main issue right now is another guitarist too.
Yeah, I would have to show somebody all the riffs and and we got it. I mean, we got Bobby, Craigan, Michael Gilbert, Dallas.
Yes.
Players that are Ronnie that are doing solos that I can't do what they did out there.
Right.
I mean, so who are we going to get to be able to perform those? Yeah, they wouldn't have to be the same solo. I get it, but
well, it'd almost be like you at that point you would just have to like leave those songs out of the out of the live.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't want to.
But you really don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to do that. No.
Well, Dallas said he would. Dallas would like us to. He told me he would have no problem bringing us on shows with his band Narcotic Wasteland, opening for them. So we just have to look at availability and all this stuff, because I know him and his wife and all that, Andrea. So, so he would be able to come up and do solos on him.
Yeah.
We may have that problem
and do vocals on Divide. But
there you go.
Yeah,
he's an unbelievable guitar player.
Yeah, and not to take away, because we never finished the guest appearances, but Craigan. How Craigan became involved was Lisa used to live in California, and my good friend Eddie he's from California, used to live here when I met him, moved back out to California, and then so I was in touch with him, and then he was wanting to move back here because he had a grandson born, my friend Eddie, and he was with Lisa, so she was coming with, and he used to always tell me, Lisa's an amazing bass player, she plays in bands, she's friends with Craigan, who was playing in Exodus at the time, and blah, 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 things. So then they came back. Well, I had talked to Craigan and actually took some lessons from Craigan before I met Dallas. And Craigan's like, oh, yeah, Lisa's great. She's a sweetheart. And I said, you think Lisa could play like my riffs, like and all this stuff? And he just laughed. He goes, dude, Lisa's amazing. He goes, she'll be able to play your guys' stuff. So then when they moved back here, that's how Lisa became our bass player. And then asked Craigan at the same time, would you do solos on our record? And same thing, he said, let me hear it and I'll do it. So that's how Craigan became on the album as well. So I kind of just developed a friend relationship with these guys too. I can text him whenever and all that. Michael Gilbert was kind of the same scenario as well. Went and saw Flotsam at Reggie's Chicago. And then it was amazing. And then the next day after the show, just told him I was a fan and all this stuff. And I think at that point, you could kind of see that I wasn't a fanboy. Just, my friends were people that were, in historic bands and all this stuff.
Right.
So something going, oh, you guys are kick ass. He was like, oh, this guy, he's reputable, whatever. So then Michael replied and talked to him. And it was strange how he immediately, when I told him the situation about Mark passing away of cancer, I said, I would be honored if you would play a solo on the record and all this stuff. And he said, yeah, send me what you got and let me know. He did it. No problems asked. Well, then I told Dave about this. Like a month later, I listened to a podcast where Michael Gilbert was interviewed. And Michael Gilbert is a colon cancer survivor. I never knew that. He kept private. He never told people. And he said on his podcast, because I never let people know, but years ago I had colon cancer and I survived it. And it just like, my heart just like, oh my God, that's why this dude probably why this guy, I tugged at his heartstrings and I didn't even know this happened to him.
Right.
And like I said, he's been amazing too. I'm supposed to call him because he wants to give us some guidance and some tips, on what to do now that the album's out and all this stuff too. He's an amazing guy, amazing person. So
see that's awesome, and it's just another example. We talk about it all the time, and of course we talk about a lot of stuff all the time. We've kind of got it's kind of a bad habit that we've got, but anyway, but this is actually kind of one of the good things that we talk about a lot. I mean, just building the relationships that you guys have built, whether, just through, I know this person, give them a call, and then you develop these relationships, and then it all becomes another thread in the fabric of this community. Because I mean, now that you guys have anyone that's come on the show, we consider all the bands that have come on the show, we consider them friends.
Absolutely.
And every band that's been on the show, you guys included, have an open-ended invitation to come back anytime. If there's a with it something, a tour being announced, whenever the next album comes around, if we're still lucky enough to be doing this, because this shit could end at any time. It really could. But so I mean, we're still around doing this. I mean, but we consider we're kind of creating our own little community on this podcast, but it's just another example of how close knit the heavy metal community becomes.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. Like, we've talked about this a lot, how we kind of like done things. I'm kind of like you, Brad, where we were at a podcast convention a couple years ago. Ricky Ratman happened to be there. He was there doing his own thing. He wasn't even a guest. I said, hey, man, what's the chance of you coming over and do it? You don't know if you don't ask. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he's like, I'll tell you what, man, you buy 2 tickets to my show in Nashville and I'll come over there and do it. So that's what I did. I bought 2 tickets to a show. He came over and did a spot on our show. So, hey, Ricky Ratman's been on our podcast. That's all I can
That's right.
So I can say that. So
that's very cool.
I got bribed. It was a briber, but, whatever.
The biggest thing is
do what you got to do.
Exactly.
When they do when I would ask him, I would say, because Michael was actually going to do when Skies and Flames came out like a month later, I was like, you know what? Album hasn't came out yet. Should see if he'll do a guitar playthrough with the solo and post it. And I had reached out to him, and what I always say is like, and if you can't, I said, just say it. You don't feel obligated.
Right.
Very upfront with them. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings.
Right. Yeah.
It helps too, because they don't want to come across egotistical at all. So if you already give them the out of like, I 100% get it. If you're busy, I'm just throwing this out there, I'll compensate you, of course, this and this and this. And you kind of give them the out of a yes or a no, rather than, oh, you did this for me once. Will you do this now? Will you do this now?
Right. Yeah.
You gotta let them know that you're not.
You respect their time.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
exactly. Yeah. And that's the same thing we do when we reach out to bands, because like all the time, it's not all the time where the label's sending us music. We actually find some bands outside of that. Like Degenerate was a band that I kind of reached out to after I heard the album. I was like, hey, man, I'd love to have you guys on, man. It's a great album. And, they were like, oh, yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, some people say, yeah, let's do it. Or some people, the thing that I think gets me is more than anything is people just, like, especially if it's like a message on like social media, you see they read it and then there's no respond. I'm like, at least just say, hey, thanks, but no thanks, or some kind of response. I just hate getting, I've always been that kind of person where I think it's more professional to say, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, or than to just say, nothing at all. It's kind of like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're fucking grown. So I mean,
it's like, well, you mean you can't, dude. I'm like, the reason I asked is because I don't know your schedule. Like, that's what I said earlier in the show is you guys have a new album out. I don't know your schedule. You may have shows lined up for 2 months to support the album, and which is perfectly fine. I get it. We had Richie Cavallero on from Insight, a few weeks ago. That was a big thing for us because, hey, you don't say no to a Cavallero, right? In metal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so Richie's on the same label. We had, Curtis reach out with that album, which that's probably one of the biggest challenges we've had, as far as me anyway, is like I've had this album in my back pocket for a month and it ain't out until August. So I'm just like, dude, I want to talk about this album so bad. It's like, and it's like, but I can't, and it's like one of the things that was challenging was having him on the show 3 months before an album comes out. And you got to say, okay, what can't ask that. You can't say that, so it's kind of like, you got to pick out what you can and can't talk about. So it kind of went into and it wasn't going to be a good thing because I think because of that, Richie's like, hey, once the tour's over in the fall, man, I'll come back on and we can talk more, because then we can talk about the album because it'll be out. But I think a lot of it was more of how he grew up within the Cavalera, family and all, and we got some amazing stories out of it, dude. It was really, really cool.
Some ridiculous stories.
Some ridiculous stories.
I mean, he was hanging out with Jack Osborne, staying over at Ozzy's house.
Yeah, Ozzy fixing him sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, who in
the hell's in the music business say Ozzy fixed him a sandwich?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's no way in hell we would have ever expected to get stories like that. And he was just rattling them off. I mean,
without even being asked, he was just talking about stuff. It's really cool.
So it was insane.
You guys are great, though, man. It's like I said, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah,
so,
this has been a lot of fun.
You guys are easy to talk to. So.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for that, because that's
what
actually
we're shooting for.
That is exactly what we're shooting for. We don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, and like Jason said, we try to just take an organic approach, and we end up talking about last names and beans and all that other shit. So I mean,
who was it? Who was it at the podcast? It was Christopher Williams, wasn't it? We wound up at the convention. He sat down Christopher Williams from Accept. He sat down.
Yeah, it was.
The first 4 things we talked. 14 minutes probably of the conversation was all about cartoons. We didn't even talk about metal. I'm like, golly, are we serious right now? Like,
we were talking about South Park and then Ren and Stimpy.
I love Ren and Stimpy.
That
was good back in the day.
Yeah,
it was so crazy.
Yeah, we're talking to the drummer of a band who's about to celebrate their 50th anniversary. Now don't get me wrong, Christopher hasn't been in the band that long, but I mean, you're talking about a band that's got Wolf Hoffman in it, and like I say, is been around for going on 50 years. What are we talking about? South Park and Ren and Stimpy. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Not the new album like we should have been talking about. But,
right. So I mean, it's just, but yeah, we try to approach this, like I say, just as fans, just talking to a band that's got an album out that we really enjoyed, and then where the conversation goes, it just goes. And
like you said, organic. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And now we got an inside joke. So now the first question we're going to ask everybody going forward is, Brad Carlson? You know Brad Carlson?
Yeah. That's right.
It's at least a maybe.
Well, I probably will just to see how many people actually do know him. It's like,
that's true. How do you
I know that guy. So, pretty cool.
Well,
so before we wrap up, you guys want to talk about y'all socials or where you can pick album up or anything like that?
Yeah,
or merch. Yeah, merch.
So I hate to say coming soon. We do still have some copies of Exit Wounds. If anyone wants those, I did have a request in Europe they wanted both albums at the same time. So unfortunately, like Brad said, we're a little late on the CDs for Scars. Those are coming out first week of July. We should get those. They're printed first week of July. We should get those no later than the second week. We'll be able to start getting those out.
Oh, cool.
Shortly after that. We'll have some shirts as well. Just basic merch stuff like that. Buying the album, if you'd like to support us and actually buy the album, Bandcamp's the best place to find that right now. We are on all streaming platforms.
Hell yeah.
We're across all streaming platforms right now, as you guys found: Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes. Trying to think where else. We do have a Reverb Nation site. That's kind of our main site that we've had for 15 years. I probably need to do more updating. I've updated the site, but I think I need to update our presence a little bit better.
Yeah. Don't want to confuse people if there's old photos. Yeah, singers.
Right? That's our history. There's still other people that are involved.
But I mean, the physical copy CDs, would it be best to do off Scars of Lazarus or what?
Yeah, either Bandcamp or Scars of Lazarus. Okay. So Scars of Lazarus is coming soon. That website is solr.rocks. So
Okay.
that'll be out. That'll be out hopefully within the next couple weeks here.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that did a .rocks. I kind of felt, that when they asked me about my domain, I said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I want. Like, I don't want a .com and .net. I want something to stick out.
That's right.
Yep.
So,
That's right.
Yep.
And actually, I
Said,
need to, come to think about it, I need to do some stuff on my website too, because I've definitely been lax on that. So,
well, I mean,
Same.
when you do like a .rocks, I mean, people are going to know it's music. So
Yeah,
well, exactly. Yeah. No, it's a cool deal. So, man, Brad, Dave, man, thanks for taking your time out and joining us and talking with us about the new record and the old record and, kind of everything that's happened in between. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
that's right.
so much for
Yeah.
having us. We appreciate it. Oh, real quick, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
finish what you were talking about a minute ago. We are probably most active on Instagram and Facebook right now.
okay.
Haven't done a lot on X.
Nah.
Doing any other socials? No, it's pretty much Instagram.
I
and Facebook
tried
at
doing
this point.
TikTok, and I don't know how to do it. I'm just daughters have tried to help me and guide me, and I'm just
Too
idiot.
fucking old. We're just too
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, I've got three 20-year-olds in the house, and they're like, "Oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do that," and then like I try to do this and I try to do that, and then what happens? I get like less than 100 views. I'm like,
Well,
I mean,
and we have so many parts of our songs, little breakdown parts or intro parts, whatever, that we could do stupid little. Because I'm always doing goofy shit on TikTok with my daughters, like those dances that they want to do.
Right.
I don't care about acting like an idiot online, but to get views or whatever. But they keep saying, they're like, "Well, you do this dance with us. You should do this when your album comes out." Like, people would love it. They think it's hilarious, like a metal dad doing this. And I tried and I tried. I just can't get the platform down.
right? It's not easy.
It's
not
all
easy.
it's all about how you tag everything too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
I don't even know how to fix stuff.
So, but our Instagram is at Patchwork Metal Official, and Facebook is facebook.com/Patchwork Scars.
Cool.
So,
Yeah. Like I said, everybody go out, check out that new album, Scars, if you haven't already. Missing out for sure if you haven't. So it's good shit. So
Thanks.
like I said, definitely in contention of being, one of the best albums of the year in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that the new album is definitely going to be hanging around the top 10 for a long time the rest of the year. Because I mean, being the thrash metal fans that we are, I mean, I guess probably at this point we're a little biased, but I mean, we also, like Jason says, we do go into this blind, and you guys were new to us when we got the album sent to us. So, we're only talking about maybe a month of familiarity at this point.
Right.
But I mean, we've listened to it multiple times. We've done our homework. We've taken our notes. We've broken it down. We've taken stock of the stuff that's stood out, the stuff that we liked. So I mean, we've done our analytics on it. So I mean, whether or not we're thrash metal fans or not, which we are, we've made no bones about it in the past. I mean, we still are both of the opinion that, like I say, as of right now, an absolute contender. I have no bones. I have no qualms about saying it. I really don't.
That's
huge.
Yeah, I 100% feel it.
That's huge.
And I'm going to be listening to it again.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. Now
and there's a good thing. We do have a radio station too, so we throw all of our stuff on there too. So
yes, we do.
We've kind of gotten, we've kind of gotten feels and everywhere. So trying to get, like I said, when we did this, we're trying to push, metal, as much as we can. So we're trying to get any outlet that we can get into, legally, of course. We're all good with. So,
well, by all means, please use whatever you'd like from either of our albums.
Yeah,
so we appreciate it.
Like I said, there's definitely a couple of songs that's already in my favorites for you guys from the new album. So that's definitely in heavy rotation on my like songs. So
which ones? I got
Scars and Relic are the two that I have on there right now. So
thank you.
Oh, right before speaking of Relic, before we go, we were talking about perfectionism and OCD and everything. Why the hell did you spell it that way?
It's killer backwards.
Oh, son of a bitch! Yep.
So funny story again about Mark.
There it
Rest
is.
in peace. We love him, but keep in mind. So the story was Mark got divorced. He was devastated by the divorce, but at the same time, his first words out of his mouth like, "Fuck it, we're focusing on this band. I'll drive down every fucking day for practice." Then he met Heather, his soulmate, who he had his son with, and she's ended up being amazing. But as you guys know, when your buddy's in a relationship forever, and then it takes away from the band, and then he's single, you get all yes. And then all of a sudden he gets hooked up and gets whooped again. You're like,
No.
for all these songs were literally jokes about Mark. Like it'd be like, what was
MJ?
Mark's jealous. I was like, oh, Mark's gonna be jealous of this riff I wrote. So then it ended up be calling MJ was the initial name of the song. And then I'd write another song and I'd be like, oh, he's gonna be jealous of this too. So this is MJ squared. And then when I wrote Relic, it was like, oh, this riff's badass, man. You know, he shouldn't.
Working titles, of course.
Yeah, working titles. He shouldn't be with this girl, man. This song should be called Killer. This and that, but we'll call it Relic so he doesn't know.
Man,
Relic is the one that stuck.
I never even fucking put that together.
That's hilarious.
I can't unsee it now. Of course.
Yeah,
right.
it really changed too. And Heather ended up being amazing.
She's a wonderful
close to her. We
woman.
love her
She
to
really
death. But you know, they were together for a long time. But this was the initial like, fuck, we had him 100% in the band again, and then he found out, and so that
we were this close.
Yeah, missed it by that much.
That's right.
Yeah,
but no, that's a great story.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
All right, man. Like I said, we don't keep you out of your Saturday no longer. We have to, so.
Well, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you guys, man. Like as you know, like I said, you do all the work. We're just trying to help you promote it. So
that's right.
We very much appreciate that.
The best
we
can.
Be on again.
Like I said, we don't have to do too much.
Anytime.
We don't have to do too much with your PR people. They're
hell no.
You guys are
again. Sorry for your loss.
Very sorry for your loss,
Chris.
Yeah,
my mom passed, and so I definitely
understand.
I hope you heal quickly, but you never forget. Obviously,
that seems like an ongoing title for the show, man. Because I think it's kind of a lost theme here. You know, you talk about losing Mark and then losing your mom, and he loses dad. So I mean, that's a lot of loss, man. So
but I appreciate it, and my condolences back to you. Absolutely,
thank you.
Like I said, Brad, Dave, man, we appreciate it again. Like I said, you're welcome anytime.
Anytime.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Anything, we following you guys on all your socials. So if anything pops up, Patchwork, we'll be happy to share it on our stuff.
That's right. We'll be watching and sharing. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, fellas.
Thanks, man. Y'all have a good day, man.
See ya.
Hell yes.
Dave.
Hell yes.
Dave
Thrash metal is alive and well in Rockford, Illinois. Alive and very well. Thrash metal. Just, even if you're not necessarily a thrash metal fan, even if you're just like a traditional heavy metal fan, like Priest and Maiden and stuff like that, I think you'll enjoy that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're just a fan of well-written, well-composed heavy metal, I think you'll enjoy the album. I don't know if it's really for death metal fans or black metal fans or whatever. But it's not. I don't think it'll be, right up the alley of every heavy metal fan, because some people are into stuff more than others. But if you're a thrash fan, or if you're a traditional heavy metal fan, just the guitar riffs alone, just the amount of guitar riffs on this album are just mind blowing. It's ridiculous how many killer riffs they wrote and put together.
Yeah, I think in general, like instrumentally, it was a pretty well done album. Like I said, you don't hear many albums where it's showcasing every instrument. Man, they really did a good job of that. So
yeah, they were cognizant of giving everybody their
exactly
their spot.
And then you hear them say, well, that was intentional. Well, it's kind of like, wow, that's pretty cool that you knowingly did that. So it's knowingly giving everybody their kind of
Right.
Like I said, we hear a lot of that within bands. Like, we talked to Dave from Valkyrie's Fire about that, how
Oh yeah.
everybody's incorporated in everything that's going on with that band, which is still something we got to line up at some point. But
Yeah.
but it's definitely like something we're hearing more and more of, where every band, just like Insight, where Richie was talking about how he took him this long to get 4 people that are serious about doing things, or 3 people was serious about doing things as he was. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
The same passion. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Which him and the other guys been in the band for the get go, but I'm just saying, like,
Right.
the other 2 members were kind of
Yeah.
coming along. So it's good to hear that these bands are kind of finding their footing, finally, and doing, going forward. Patchwork, it wasn't. I don't think there was an issue with finding their footing. I think it was an issue with more of a lot of loss and a lot of heartbreak in between trying to get their mind back
Yeah.
into around doing music again. So,
Yeah.
which is
Created, like they said, the life situation caused a
right,
little bit of instability that no one can really plan or prepare for. I mean, especially when, it's stuff like that where it just comes out of the blue like that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, you're dealing with the same kind of thing now, where something's out of the blue, and you
Yeah.
know, don't, it's like, I can sit here and talk about all day long, but unless you've been in that situation, you don't really know,
Yeah.
uh, anything how to feel about it. So,
Yeah.
uh,
It's weird because, like I say, it's been 10 days now,
mhm.
and I don't feel it. I'm trying not to let it. I'm not. I'm trying not to let it change me because, I mean, my dad would not want me, doing
Right,
that, but I don't. But of course, it's still fresh. It's only been a week and a half since he passed away. I still haven't had a chance to, get up to Michigan and see my mom. We've talked to her, of course, but it's going to be different, seeing her and my sister in person and seeing my grandma and grandpa, because, they were all in the room when he passed. I mean, we were on a video call and everything. So, I mean, I was there, but I wasn't there. But I mean, you know, I was there at the end, my brother and I were, but I feel different, and I'm not trying to let it change me. And I don't think
right.
it will, but it's just very, very strange
You know, I
because,
yeah,
he passed away, 4 days before Father's Day, you know,
right. That's a real
coming,
big hit too, man. Like,
yeah, coming up in a week and a half, it's his birthday, and then like my birthday's the next day, and like we would always, call and talk to each other for both of our birthdays, like, hey, happy birthday, hey, you too, and it just,
mhm.
I didn't get to, he wasn't around on Father's Day, he's not going to be around on our birthdays, and it's just going to be weird because he was literally just here, and now he's literally not. So I mean,
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
so it's just strange, and it's different, and it's gonna be strange and different probably forever,
Mhm.
strange and different forever. You lose people, and then, you know I don't know. Like, the older we get, obviously, the more it starts happening, and I understand that. I mean, it was going to get to that at some point, but when and people say it all the time. Oh man, I just saw this person. I just talked to this person.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's kind of cliche because people say it all the time. But I literally talked to my dad not 12 hours before I got the phone call saying he was in the hospital with a heart attack. It wasn't even 12 hours prior to that we were chatting in a group chat. And, it's 1:30. I'm sitting on the assembly line, and, my phone rings, and it's 1:35, and I see that it's my mom. I was like, this can't be good. Why would she be
Right.
calling me at 1:30 in the morning?
Right. Knowing you're at work. So,
Yeah, and she knows I'm at work. So, I was like, this can't be good, and sure as fuck it wasn't.
mm,
So,
mm.
not trying, it's like, not trying to bring anybody down or anything, but it's just,
Well, no, it's not,
so and
so,
while
so,
we're while we're on the subject, uh thank you to everybody who actually, you know took the time to send condolences and well wishes and everything. I do greatly appreciate that very much.
Well, like I said, man, we've been known each other long enough. We're pretty much family at this point. So it's kind of, I kind of feel like that with a lot of people, especially in our group. There's a lot of people in that group that we've known for a long time too.
Yeah.
That and not only that, we created relationships with.
Right.
That's almost like family now, especially with some of the bands and Dana and people like that we talk to. That's we've done we built a big relationship with. So I mean they're a big part of what we do. So
Yep.
So it's almost Dana had the same kind of situation with his parent, one of his parents. So it's his mom, right? His mom passed
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. It was his mom. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean it's something that we're unfortunately all going to have to deal with at some point. I mean, it's kind of the inevitable, but
Yeah, no, it is inevitable.
With,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but with your situation, it's kind of crazy because, like I said, it's kind of one of those things where you're talking and everything's good, and then next day it's like, okay, what the fuck happened? It's kind of, it's like something you'll probably never understand because it's just.
And that is kind of the strange thing about it, because I mean, I lost my maternal grandmother a couple years ago on Thanksgiving, and and I was literally there right by her side when she passed away, because my brother and I we were given enough notice that we're able to get up there, and my grandmother, her wish, she was in hospice, but she was like, I'm gonna die at home. That's my wish. I want to die at home.
Right.
And they had a bed for her and everything, and it was set up in her living room where she could watch TV and all that stuff. And my brother and I, we went up, and we got word that hey, you need to get over to your grandma's house. She's probably not going to last too much longer because she had been sick. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things. And she's
where she's been sick, so it's kind of
So I mean, she's like 90. So I mean, hell, she was a feisty woman. So I mean, she went down swinging. But so it's one of those things where you get into the 80s and 90s and stuff, and it's like it's coming for all of us. But I mean, once you get to certain ages, you're like, okay, it could be any time now. And like I say, my grandma was like 90, and she had been sick. She had been in the hospital and stuff like that. So when my mom called and said, you may want to come up, we did. We got up there as quickly as we could. And just being able to be there with her, in her last moments, all of her kids were there. Most of her grandchildren were there, not all of them, but I mean, I was there. I was the oldest grandchild. I was there. My brother was there. So but it's you have a different mindset when somebody has been going through an illness and they are a certain age. Don't get me wrong. It was sad. It was sad and tragic, and everyone was crying and grieving and sorrowful and everything. But it's completely different when you have no idea, no indication, and you got somebody who is still, because I mean 66. I mean, granted, people pass away in their 40s all the time. I mean, we've reported on it all year. People in their 30s and 40s have died this year. Happens every day. But there was literally no indication that anything was wrong.
Right.
Not an inkling. Not a, well, I haven't been feeling well lately. Either from him or my mom going, "Hey, your dad's been kind of sluggish, lethargic, whatever. His head hurts, his this, that, and the other thing hurts." Nothing. Not a fucking peep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm at least thankful for, as I with my situation, I at least had some kind of sign there that I was able to realize that, hey, something's not right.
Yeah.
And able to go and get checked out and get fixed. And it's like I mean, it's just even like I said, it's kind of I told my wife that too. She's like, "Man, you're just so different." I said, "Yeah, because it's like I just went through an eye-opening experience. Like, I'm eating healthy. I've dropped 35 pounds in a year and a half. I'm doing everything the right way, and I'm still having issues." I said, "What the fuck?" It's like you know, I think it's kind of like I think it's kind of the point to where I'm just like, okay, I got to start like picking my battles and not getting like so caught up and intertwined in some things that I'm not going to be able to change, or
Right.
that people on the other end of the conversation don't even give two fucks about. So
Yeah.
why am I getting worked up over it?
Yep.
I'm kind of like at that point now where we even did something the other day. She's like, well, you would have been cussing that guy. I'm just like, yeah, for what? The motherfucker don't. I said the dumbass would never understand why he's being cussed for.
Right.
you
No,
know,
I totally get it.
yeah. So it's kind of like it's at the point where I think that was a lot of what stress. It was like a stress related, and of course, being angry is always going to increase your stress levels. So it's kind of like I got to pick and choose, how I'm going to handle myself emotionally from now on. So it's hopefully, like I said, I'm wearing a heart monitor now. So hopefully, whenever next week when I send this back in and follow up appointment, everything's back to normal. I can go back to doing what everything I was doing before. But
Right.
still gonna have that in the back of my mind where hey, don't entertain it. Just go and move on.
Yeah.
Which is not like me. I've always been kind of the person where I kind of say what's on my mind, and sometimes it's a curse, sometimes it's a blessing. It's kind of
Yeah.
so it's like I said, life changing thing, even though
Sure.
it wasn't severe as it could have been. So
Yeah.
and like I said, I, you know, I don't know if your dad ever experienced anything, or maybe he just didn't realize it, or I mean, we don't know. And that's the bad thing
Yeah.
about the whole situation is we'll never know, because if he
Right.
didn't recognize it, he ain't said nothing to your mom about it. So I mean,
Right.
so it's kind of like maybe he had something going on the whole time and just wasn't aware. And that's why I say go get checked out. Even if you're feeling 100%, go get checked out, because you never
Yeah.
know what's going on internally with blood
Yep.
streams, and your body is a network of everything. So it's
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. 100%.
it's all intertwined. So I mean, one
Yeah.
little thing off can make
Yep.
make a difference. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the funny thing is I really, and I want to ask, but I mean, and I might eventually, of course it may come up, in a couple of weeks when we go up there, but I mean,
yeah, when everybody's together.
I haven't asked,
Mhm.
I haven't asked that question. Well, I mean, how did you guys not know? Had dad not been going to the doctor? I mean, was there anything? I mean, did he say anything about feeling any different at all? I mean,
Yeah,
because I mean, it's just it's and I know people die from heart attacks all the time. I mean, I know a lot of people survive them, and I know a lot of people die from them. And my dad, he didn't recover from this one. But that's the thing is, I mean, and Angela and I were talking about it. Well, I mean, what about this and what about that? It's like I have no idea. I
yeah,
don't know the answers to any of this, because I mean, I was given no indication that hey, your dad hasn't been feeling well. This that nothing. Not a fucking thing. I
well,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like the sad reality, maybe you won't ever get that either. I mean, you may not
well,
even know.
that's the thing is I'll never get it from him, because I don't know what my mom knows, and
Exactly.
she doesn't know what she wasn't told. So I
Yeah.
mean, if my dad wasn't feeling great and he wasn't telling my mom, it's not her fault for not knowing.
Exactly.
That's the thing. But I mean, and that's the thing. My dad being gone, I mean, the source of the information
It's gone with him. Yeah.
is not available anymore. So that's it's always going to be one of those nagging things, because I mean now it's like I mean you're a skosh older than me, but I mean I'm pushing 50 also,
Yeah.
So I mean I'm pushing 50, and then 60 is not too far behind, so I mean because fuck, I mean you and I both know time seems to go by faster every day,
God, yeah, it does, man.
so I mean, so for Christ's sake, this seems to go by faster every day. So, you know, and the like my grandfather is 87, and the one of the things that he told us, of course, he told my sister to tell us is my grandfather told Tracy to tell Bob and I that we should take it as a warning, because men in my family usually don't live that long.
Mm.
So I didn't know how to handle that, because I told Angela, it's like, I feel like I'm on a goddamn countdown at this point.
Yeah.
What do I do with that? You got somebody telling you, it's like, hey, Toronto men usually don't live past this age. I told her I feel like I'm in that movie with Justin Timberlake where you got that goddamn clock in your arm.
Yeah, the time.
You know what I mean? And I wasn't, yeah. I mean, it was a good movie, but at the same time, it's like I kind of,
feel that way.
being told that is like I feel like I'm counting down the rest of my life.
Well,
So
I mean, depending on what you believe, I mean, we were all born with a ticker when we were born. So I mean,
well, I mean that's true, but I mean at the same time, it's like I literally feel, and it's been hard to shake because like it's only been a week and a half. So I mean it's been
right.
hard to shake that feeling. It's like, because that's the thing is, I mean, I just watched my dad pass away, and then my grandfather says, hey, you could be next. We don't usually live that long.
But
I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed?
Yeah, but how old is he?
Yeah. So I mean, so the funny thing is, I showed you guys this book earlier in the show. I'm half tempted to go through this book and find all the Toronjos and find out, all right, he lived this long, he lived this long, he lived this long. Because I mean, why would you? Of course, why would he tell me that if he didn't know that? But at the same time, that can't be 100%. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just it's just a thing I can't shake. So basically I'm looking at, all right, I'm gonna work until I die.
Well, I mean, unless you're like in a family that's been known to have certain kind of diseases or something like that. I mean, I think that's pretty much per person. Like, you could live to be 80 for all we know. I mean, it's like,
and see that's that's the crazy thing is,
I mean, you're pretty healthy, man. You don't even drink caffeine a lot. So I mean, it's kind of
no. I gave it up 10 years ago.
You've never smoked, you never drink, you never done drugs. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of things that's there to I guess what am I trying to say, exemplify anything going on. So I mean, it's kind of a like I said, it's still good. Like I said, you're still good to check up, man, just to be sure that everything's good.
I'm going to, yeah. I'm going to.
You gotta stay on top of that stuff. I tell people that, and here I am still with a heart monitor on. So I mean, it's kind of like I go 2 times a year for checkups. So, which is crazy because, like I said, there was no issues with blood pressure or anything. It was my heart rate. So my blood pressure's been fine. It was just my heart rate was out of whack. So it's kind of a rhythmic issue. So. So even though you may see, check your blood pressure and all that, and it's still good, you may think you're good. Well, sometimes you're not. So I mean, you can't never tell. So
yeah, that's true. I mean,
and I just went to 2 doctors, a month and a half ago. So I mean, that kind of changed in a month and a half. So
yeah, it's true. So
yeah,
I mean,
very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working at GM now. I mean, I've got really, really good insurance. Like I said, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I mean, I finally got really, really good insurance. So I mean, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna get back to the eye doctor and the dentist, and all that shit. Get back on the schedule that I was on, because I mean, up until shit. I can't even remember. I'm overdue for the dentist. I'm so overdue for the dentist. It's ridiculous. And that's the thing is, I was going to the dentist every 6 months, like you're supposed to. I was going to the eye doctor once a year, like you're supposed to. And I had actually started going to my doctor on a regular basis, and I was getting biometric screenings done and everything else. And I was actually just about to schedule my next physical, and he was like, "Well, I'm retiring, so you may not want to even bother." And I haven't been able to find another doctor, and then I was between jobs, and now I have this new insurance. I mean, I'm waiting for everything to quiet down as far as that goes, so I can get a new doctor. I can get back on all this shit. I was even planning on doing that before a week and a half ago. This is just, making sure it's like, hey, hammering it home. It's like you got to do this shit now, man. You just got to do it.
At some point, I forgot we were even still live. So,
yeah.
Guys, sorry about all that. We kind of got carried away with the health issue, but still, it is there. Check yourself out. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, if anyone's still around and watching, I appreciate you listening. It's just one of those things. Still trying to process all this. My dad's gone. So it's just very, very strange. So Yeah, it's a weird time.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the interview there with Patchwork. If you want to check their stuff out on Spotify, Apple Music, he said it was on everything, I do believe. So check all that out there. So
Hey, Brad. Hey, Brad just asked to join the group.
oh, cool.
You sir are approved.
And then
Yes, you are approved.
looks like Kayla is still listening. So
Yep, she's still around.
so anyway,
Appreciate it.
guys, you can check us out everywhere. But first, I want to tell you about the 24/7 radio station that you can check out at stream.trulyradio247.com/8008/stream. New music is uploaded there constantly. So you can go over there, check that out. And then you can follow us on our socials.
Yep. Facebook, our Facebook group and our Facebook page, X, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, and Spotify. And you can email us at metalheadsuniteusa@gmail.com.
You can also check out all of our playlists, weekly playlists, and the themes of the week are all on Spotify. If you want to just put in that search Metalhead Unite, all that should pop up for you there. So check all that out.
We will be back with another guest next week. I know Jason mentioned them earlier in the show. So
yep, I was we kind of got carried away and I let it slip, but that's okay. Every once in a while I like to give you a bone. So
that's right. So we will be back with next week at 10 a.m. Central Time here in the U.S. with Degenerate, and if I remember correctly, they're from the Netherlands.
Amsterdam. Yep.
So looking forward to that. Another fantastic album. Oh, so good.
And everything's legal there, so we'll get some good stories.
We'll try.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. And like I said, if you want to listen to this later, it will be up on Spotify and Rumble at some point. Probably be about a week or so. Because I'm still one behind, I think, right now. I'm trying to get caught back up from everything going on. I've kind of been trying to get myself back into a schedule. So
right.
But we'll get there. So and then
yes, we will.
Also, if you wanted to check out our T-shirts, they are on our group page and Facebook page there. So if you want to check those out and hit us up, and we'll get that out to you if you want one of those. So, and then the new ones are coming. So
yes, they are.
You an old one. So
I mean, you need more. You need more shirts.
Yeah, that's right. Need more shirts. Yep.
Need more shirts.
All right, guys. Hopefully you have a good rest of the weekend, and hopefully we will see you back here next Saturday, same time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 Eastern, for the next interview with Degenerates. So
that's right.
Till then, keep those horns held high. Jump in that pit anytime you can.
Have a great week, you guys.